The caprock layer, that layer of solid rocks that keeps the lid on the volcano, is no longer a reliable barrier to pressure or fluid movement or magma behind. There's a major new warning sign with this new study that just came out. The caprock layer is fractured. Pressure release could cause phreatic explosions or open a pathway for magma. The caprock above is not just brittle, it's already deformed. This new study identifies a mechanically compromised caprock layer. So this really changes everything. And I have said this to you multiple times. That caprock layer is a problem. And I'm not the only one. Of course, I have listened to all the seasoned scientists that work for the INGV that have warned about this and that have warned about this years ago already and that are asking for evacuations. And how long do you want to wait? I know it's difficult. It's a lot of people, but we know that Mastro Lorenzo has asked at least evacuate Pozzuoli. I know if nothing happens, should they remain evacuated forever? When can they come back? Ideally, and I know this is very strange and you cannot imagine this in an area in Italy with more than 6 million people in Naples, but this area, at least the red zone, should be evacuated permanently, forever, over and out. It's tragic because Pozzuoli is so beautiful, but the people that live there are more valuable and more beautiful. So they need help. They can't afford to permanently move away. Because you can't imagine, you can't sell your home there then property values are tanked to zero basically if there is an evacuation. But let's look into this study, guys. What this will reveal will stun you. And again, I say that it's groundbreaking. For the first time, researchers have combined advanced seismic relocation techniques to build a high-resolution 3D model of the P and S wave velocities of these earthquakes. So it's basically a high-resolution 3D imaging of this caldera's subsurface. And this imaging reveals the precise location, size, and structure of a gas-rich reservoir beneath the caldera, something that was previously inferred but never clearly mapped. And what can be the consequences of this? We have to listen to this, guys. That's why the title of this video is Campi Flegrei, the cracked caprock layer and the hidden time bomb beneath Naples. But with all these studies coming out, it's not that hidden anymore. And the volcano speaking to us. There was just another 2.6 earthquake after the last earthquake swarm. The earthquake swarms keep coming. So imagine living on a monster. This is a super volcano. It's restless. It's an invisible giant because on top of it, it looks really nice. But it's breathing, and it's been breathing slowly, faster, and now really faster. So it's shaking the ground beneath the residents' feet, and it pushes the earth upward with a land rise, centimeter by centimeter, inch after inch, year after year since 2005. And Campi Flegrei, this is what people have to understand. It's a giant. It's a massive super volcano that is buried beneath, right underneath, the bustling streets of Naples in Italy. And today, after what we learned in this study, or what I learned, you haven't learned it yet because I will tell you, Campi Flegrei may be closer to a dangerous tipping point than ever before. It's a groundbreaking study that has been published in the Nature Communications this month, 2025, and really, it changes everything that we thought we knew about this gigantic supervolcano. So they're using cutting-edge seismic imaging. They have conducted rock physics experiments, and they have looked at over 10,000 of the recent earthquakes. And the researchers have been successful in uncovering what lies beneath the surface. And what they found is alarming. It is really alarming. You can't name it in any other way. This is not just about the magma that, by the way, has been confirmed at a shallow depth of only 3.9 kilometers. It's about the pressure. You have to imagine this is a pressure cooker and there's no release. The pressure is increasing. And it is about a fractured barrier, which is even more catastrophic. And then it's about a gas-rich reservoir that is ready to burst. And it's about a community that is living above it. Pozzuoli and in the wider range, people of Naples and other smaller community. And they're possibly unaware that this silent war, I mean, not that silent because they know the earthquakes, but that this war that the volcano is facing against the caprock layer is just a few kilometers below them. Now let's have a deeper look at what they found underneath. So what is really beneath Naples? Over the last 20 years, Campi Flegrei has been slowly inflating again. That means the land has been rising again, more earthquakes. That's what they call the Brady seism. And since 2005, it's been raising at a rate of up to 2 centimeters with a short period of even 3 centimeters per month. And in the past year alone, it has produced multiple earthquakes above magnitude 3.5, above 4, 4.4, and even a 4.6, the largest ones that have ever been measured at Campi Flegrei, and larger than they estimate than what was happening when the last eruption was taking place. And some of these earthquakes, quite many, were widely felt across Naples. Again, this is a region with more than 6 million people. But now, thanks to this ultra-high resolution 3D seismic imaging and a unique rock physics experiment, scientists have finally mapped 3 key layers of the caldera's interior that are so important for us. I'll show you figure 2 of this study here. This is basically the tomographic cross sections of the VP and VP-VS ratios. And I mentioned it in my introduction. The seal is breaking. That's the caprock layer. And I said it so many times before. It's been already widely known that the caprock layer, since the last unrest when the magma was trying to come to the surface in the 1980s, the caprock layer since then has only a third of its strength left, but it seems it's worse than that. Another study just recently found that they found a spot in the caprock layer that is ultra weak. That would give the magma away to the surface. But now it seems the whole thing is a problem because it's already inflating. And you know, if you bury a balloon and then you blow it up underneath the earth, the crust above starts to get brittle and starts to break. This is how volcanic eruptions start. And this breaking, that is creating earthquakes. So roughly only 1 to 2 kilometers below the surface, guys, this is not a lot. There is an arc-shaped layer. Imagine the balloon underneath with high VP-VS ratio. What does that mean? That means it's dense, sealed, and under pressure. This is the caprock. That's a natural barrier that holds down the chaos below. This is really how we have to name it. And for decades, the scientists have believed that this layer could not contain gases or fluids that are rising from beneath. They really thought that's like a pressure cooker, that's this metal lid that you put on. That water or whatever is in your pot is not leaking into that lid, making the lid brittle. But at Campi Flegrei, this is the case. So the new data shows us something else that they didn't think was possible. This caprock layer is already been deformed, it's creeping, and it's beginning to crack. It's not just bending under the strain. If you look at a hair rubber thing, it's bending when I put pressure on. No, it's already starting to break. It's actively failing. That's what they're saying. The authors of this study say, quote, when deformation surpasses the rock seal's strength, the caprock eventually reaches failure. If I pull and pull and pull and pull and I pull harder, this will tear. And what is underneath that cracked caprock layer? That is what we all want to know. There's a gas-rich reservoir. And now you might think, oh, this is so good. It's gas. It's not magma, isn't it? You're wrong, guys, if you thought that. But if you're a subscriber of my channel, you're well educated, guys, right? You know that this is not anything good. And if you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe, that you're always on the pulse with me. And leave this video an early like, guys, greatly appreciate it. And if you want to support my channel, by the way, here's the link up there. You can click it, you can buy me some coffee to keep me going. Now really, the gas-rich reservoir, that's a ticking time bomb. At a depth of only 2 to 4 kilometers is a confined ellipsoidal reservoir. It's low in VP and VS, but it's rich in CO2 and steam. It's not magma, but it's just as dangerous. It's overpressurized, and you know what that means. And it's growing. It's already overpressurized, and it's growing. And another thing that is like, wow, you know the area where we have the maximum ground uplift, the maximum land rise at Campi Flegrei. This pressurized gas reservoir that they found directly aligns with that area of maximum ground uplift, especially in Pozzuoli. That's the heart of the caldera. Beautiful Pozzuoli, a beautiful coastal town with a beautiful port. The port's already that dry because the land is rising so much that it pushes out the water. The boats are lying on the ground. Along the seawall, you see the grass growing because there's no water anymore. The ferries have problems to dock because there's not enough water. They're so much lower than the dock. So they had to build temporary bridges so that people can even get in and out of the ferries. So this is not only theoretical on paper, you can already see the land rise. And I'm showing you figure 1A. That's the map of the uplift and the seismicity overlay. And of course we see the epicenters in the critical area. Pozzuoli, Solfatara area, that's where we see most of these earthquakes. So with this new study, the connection is now undeniable. The land rise, the uplift that we're seeing on the surface is being driven by this gas buildup below. And we just recently had a lot of CO2 leaking into schools, basement, rooms. And people didn't know it. They were feeling dizzy for quite a few months. Now they have gas detectors. Now they're trying to find out. It was widespread. And what is just beneath that reservoir doesn't get any better. There's basically the basement. It's an ancient rock interface. So a denser basement rock layer lies deeper, still tilting towards the center of the caldera. And this basement is being pressurized by the gases above it. And that's the interesting part. So the presence of this layer, of this basement rock layer, marks a structural boundary. So it's the bottom limit of this main pressurized system. So is this good or bad? We will find out. They have simulated the apostrophe explosion they did in this new study. They did rock physics experiments. They wanted to understand how this gas behaves under pressure. So the researchers took actual rock cores from wells inside Campi Flegrei so that they would have really the geological structure and qualities that the rocks at Campi Flegrei really have. And then they ran a very unique experiment. They simulated the conditions of the ground at 2.5 kilometers. So they went and looked at what is happening at a depth of 2.5 kilometers. They have simulated it like hot, confined, pressurized. And then they pumped in water. And what happened? Maybe you've seen my last study that was about rainwater infiltrating into the Campi Flegrei system and how dangerous that could be. Watch my playlist about Campi Flegrei because there's all these new studies. And I'm trying to take out the super complicated part of it with the formulas and with everything. But from study to study, it gives you a broader picture of what's happening. So you should really watch these videos if you're interested in that. So in their experiment, they pumped water into that area. So as pore fluid pressure increases, porosity and bulk volume, they expand exponentially. The VPs and VS decrease, the rock inflates, and the pressure builds. Basically like a sponge, The water is expanding the rocks. So let's look at this figure 3. It's a graph of pore pressure versus deformation. And now I spilled some coffee on my shirt, but I don't want to take a break right now. I'm so into this, I want to continue filming. I'm slowly losing my voice here because Eddie and Hudi are barking in the background continuously, so I always have to press pause, basically scream at them that they should shut up. So this experimental setup that they have created, it actually mimics what's happening inside the volcano right now, exactly right now. As gas accumulates in the reservoir, the rock expands, quietly inflating and softening, creeping. But eventually it hits a point where even the fibrous, ductile caprock can no longer hold. And then it fails, not explosively yet, but suddenly, very suddenly. And then cracks open, gas escapes, and earthquakes are triggered. That's what we're seeing. Massive, massive earthquake swarms already this year. March was insane. And again, when this happens, that the cracks open and that gas escapes, sometimes that's all it takes to initiate a phreatic explosion. This is not the big one, the big super volcanic eruption, but it's enough to destroy what's in that red area, maybe around, definitely Pozzuoli. It's a steam-driven blast that can hurl rocks, ash, scalding gas across the land without warning. And they're like bullets. You can't outrun that. And they're really, really dangerous. They have ended a lot of people in the past in other volcanoes. So let's have a look a little bit more at the structure of this cracked shield, this cracked caprock layer. It has a fibrous structure. So the caprock isn't just brittle stone. It is what scientists call like fiber reinforced rock. And in my last video about that study with the rainwater, it was explained how that forms. It forms naturally through hydrothermal chemical reactions. And it makes it then really hard and tough, like Roman concrete. We were always wondering, the Romans already had concrete. But even concrete has limits. We know that. This study shows that parts of this caprock, especially beneath the solfatara, are now saturated with steam. Their VPs, VS are dropping. And where the rock is saturated with vapor, it is no longer strong. It is no longer strong. Hammer that into your brain. And then I think you're able to conclude, what does that mean for the people that live on top of it? Another quote from an author of the study, quote, "This condition corresponds to fractured or higher porosity rocks filled with vapor which flow upward. That means this critical barrier is not only cracking, it is leaking already." So what's more disturbing than a growing pressure reservoir? Is there anything else? There is. So don't leave me. Stay with me. I know this is a longer video, but really I tell you, it won't be boring. I tell you that. The seismicity means the earthquakes. They're deepening and they're getting stronger. So that is more disturbing than the growing pressure reservoir. The seismicity is following it downward. So for decades, the shallowest part at Campi Flegrei, especially around that Solfatara crater that looks like a sand dune, was the center of a lot of microseismicity, very small earthquakes, but swarm-like earthquakes. But now that has changed. And thanks to this study, thanks to this ultra-precise relocation of over 10,500 earthquakes from a time frame from 2014 to 2024, so they haven't even the bad stuff that happened in 2025. The authors have observed a clear pattern. The earthquakes begin in the caprock, and then they slowly migrate down into the gas-rich reservoir, and then eventually deeper along the ancient inner caldera boundary faults. And that's what you see here in figure 4CG, the seismicity over time and depth. So each earthquake, you have to imagine this, is like a knock on a weakening wall. Each knock is weakening it even more. And the wall that it's knocking on, we already know, is full of cracks already. Quote from the author of the study: "Following shallower seismicity in the central part of the caldera, degassing through this seal horizon induces reservoir depressurization and depletion. So as pressure escapes, it triggers more movement along deep-seated pre-existing faults. So it's not a good thing. This is especially evident in another area near Baia Pozzuoli and offshore La Pietra, where magnitude 4+ earthquakes have struck for the first time ever in years. And here's the specific danger, guys. These aren't just small random tremors. They're aligning. The earthquakes are aligning, intensifying, and they're organizing. This is a system that is waking up layer by layer. And what is the invisible threat that we're facing right now? Well, we're always facing an invisible threat with a volcano until it becomes visible, like spewing out magma or rocks or something. But here, imminent, I would say it's the phreatic explosions. But the problem is, and that's what the last study said, we could have first a phreatic explosion that opens everything up and makes way for the magma to come, for a magmatic eruption. And that's really when Chizzy would hit the fizzy in this area. So volcanic eruptions is the one thing where we see these pictures of the lava spewing out. But what about phreatic explosions? You might remember White Island. That came suddenly. Nobody expected it, and all these tourists, it was a tragedy. They're steam-driven blasts they caused when hot, pressurized gas and fluid suddenly find a way out through a crack, a vent, or a caprock that finally gives in. And you can imagine if through that caprock we have a phreatic eruption, explosion, that opens up the caprock even further. And unlike magmatic eruptions where you see the magma coming up, you see the earthquakes, these phreatic eruptions, they don't give much warning. They're like, boom, they're here. So the authors of this study make it clear, quote, seismic activity and the potential of a phreatic explosion should be considered as plausible scenarios. And why does this matter? Because right now, most hazard models still focus on magma ascent as the main trigger. So as long as no magma is ascending, everything is safe, don't worry, go back to your homes, get on with your lives. But this study proves that danger doesn't just need magma, it just needs pressure. And the pressure is already here. So this gas-rich reservoir beneath Pozzuoli is not only large, it is confined and it is connected directly to the zones of uplift. This is precisely, and I want to make this clear, this is precisely the setup for a phreatic, I call it detonation. So are we experiencing history repeating? Let's think about Monte Nuovo when that new crater was formed in 1538. This is not the first time that Campi Flegrei is giving us warnings. In 1538, the ground began to rise, seismicity increased, cracks opened, steam hissed out. So it's not a sign pressure is releasing, there's steam coming out, all good. And then, without magma ever reaching the surface first, the earth exploded, forming Monte Nuovo, a new volcano. This looks like a crater. And this study draws a direct line from that event to today's crisis. The same exact patterns are happening again. And this time, there's over 500,000 people, 500 to 700,000 people living in the red zone, in the danger zone. And one of the most controversial conclusions of this study is, and I'm sure that's what's going to be discussed, they're saying their imaging provides no evidence of magma accumulation above 4 kilometers depth, where there's other studies that say there is. So that might sound like good news, right? Good news. It's not that high up the magma, but of course, it is not, guys. It is not. I need to have another sip of my coffee here. Yeah, this video is getting long, guys. I hope you're still here because you need to hear this. Because that means the danger we face now isn't from a lava spewing eruption. It's from something far more unpredictable. It's gas, steam, pressure, sudden failure. Caprock is the lid, the reservoir is the pot, and the system is acting like a pressure cooker. And as anyone who's ever used a pressure cooker knows, you don't wait for it to whistle before you back away from it. So should they redefine their hazard map? It's really time for a wake-up call. It's time for a big wake-up call. This new study proves that we need to rethink how we assess volcanic risk in calderas like Campi Flegrei. It's not enough to wait for magma to come. Of course, what we must monitor: ground uplift, changes in pore fluid pressure, deepening seismicity, VP and VS anomalies, rock failure in the caprock. And they must now really educate the population. They must factor in phreatic explosions as a serious central threat. So look at figure 4A-B, the reservoir, the caprock structure, and the uplift overlay. The civil protection has already the 4-tier alert system in place, and they have now added layers to like yellow, dark yellow, orange, dark orange. But this study urges them to re-express risk, not just in terms of eruption, but in terms of ground stability, infrastructure stress, and community exposure to sudden hydrothermal blasts. This is a giant underneath their feet. Campi Flegrei is not asleep. It's breathing, shifting, leaking right now. Caprock is cracked. Gas reservoir is growing. Its seismicity is marching downward, and the story is far from over. It's developing. So this study is a scientific milestone, but is also a big, big warning, not just to the geologists that are into this topic, to all of us. Because when a volcano like this speaks through seismic whispers and the slow rise of the earth, it's not asking questions. It's giving you a chance to listen before the volcano starts shouting. So I hope, guys, you're still here. If you are, thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And check out the videos here on the end screen. I have some groundbreaking videos. No, you really have to watch that one about that mountain that is falling apart. There's a huge crack. Like, looks like half of the mountain is about to come down, but it's slowly coming down right now. It's not everything at once, and that's an increased risk as well, because there is a glacier, and then everything's falling on the glacier, and then the glacier could break and could dam a river. So that village of Bloodton that's underneath there has been totally evacuated. You have to see this video, guys. I promise you, that's why this video is going so viral. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it and check out my Campi Flegrei playlist. Subscribe to this channel and click on my channel start page on the video section. There's all the videos that are so valuable for you to watch, I promise you. If you want to support the channel, check out my buymeacoffee.com/silky site. Link is in the description of this video. You can buy me some coffee there, leave me a video message, and I can answer back with a video message. And don't worry, all the video messages that you sent to me will be answered, and I'm on it. So thanks for supporting that, and thanks for your supers. Thanks, shout out to all my channel members who support the channel through a membership, a monthly membership. You're getting behind the scenes videos, and I hope you're all safe and sound, awake. And if you're going to sleep, have a great night, and I see you very, very soon. Bye, guys.